became a health reformer. So what she used to do, she would actually cook, she would cook her food, and she would cook, at that time she was staying with her mom, she'd also cook for her mom the food she wants. So the food she wants, maybe she wanted meat or something, whatever it is. But that's how she was able to manage now in her home. Now, I don't know how your home is, but what I would emphasize on, don't try and force it on them. Let it be through how you conduct yourself. Let them, even through the food you eat, let them see that, hey, can I try some of that, what you're making? Sometimes also the food we make, even as health reformers, sometimes it's also not good. Yeah, that's the truth. To the point that even someone is like, hey, if this is health reform, yani hawezi kuamini ni health reform. Yeah, so we have to put effort to make the food so good. I think I gave the example of our wedding. The food was so good, yeah, plant-based, that even those who are non-Adventists, they said, can we get the recipe for this? So we have to also put effort to make the food good. Remember in the Garden of Eden, the food was pleasant to the eyes and also good for taste. The fruit they ate, isn't it? When you eat fruit, fruit looks good, tastes good, and it nourishes you, isn't it? So it should be the same when we prepare food. It should look good and taste good. Yeah? Yeah? Is that okay? But as we move on, we'll answer more of that. Now, I want us to read something here. It says, if you err, or if where you may err in any way, let it not be in getting as far from the people as possible. For then you cut the thread of your influence and can do them no good. Better err on the side of the people than altogether away from them. For there is hope in that case that you can carry the people with you. But there is no need of error on either side. You need not go into the water or into the fire, but take the middle path, avoiding all extremes. Do not let it appear that you are a one-sided, ill-balanced manager. So the counsel here was to a manager, but the principle still applies in terms of balance, okay? Don't go to either extreme. I'll give another example where we had an occasion. I think yesterday I asked if you're familiar with W.D. Frazee. Some of you said you are. And W.D. Frazee started an institution called Wildwood. So Wildwood is actually the place I, by God's grace, went to get training in health evangelism. And I remember we had one experience where there were some students. They went out to do ministry, and where they went out to do ministry, they were invited to someone's house. And in that house, the person served white rice. And the students were like, but this is white rice. So the host was so hurt. White rice, is eating white rice a matter of principle or denying it? Maybe a question to you. Or white bread. Is it a matter of principle? Will you lose heaven because you ate white rice? Because it has a high glycemic index. Eating white rice or brown rice is not a matter of salvation. Is eating brown rice better than white rice? Yes. It's better. But is eating white rice a sin? It is not a sin. In that occasion, eating that white rice was an opportunity for them to be welcomed into this person's home and to win them to the health message. Does that make sense? So we really need to be wise with every circumstance we're in. Yeah? Some of us make now food an idol. Rather than giving glory to God in whatever we do, we give now glory to the food, if that's what I mean, if you understand what I mean, okay? I want to give another example on how Christ works in the health message. I want us to go to the book of 1 Kings chapter 17. can see maybe why I wanted us to go on this message first. Is it possible for someone to help me get this closer so I can charge my... I just need an extension cable. First Kings 17. And whoever was there, I want someone to read where just before Elijah was fed by the raven. Just read just before that, and then the verse into when he was fed by the raven. Anyone who's there, please. Yes. The raven. Just before he was fed by the raven, the bird. Yeah. I think it's between verse 1 and 7 or something. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Who sent these ravens to feed Elijah? God. What did the ravens feed Elijah? Bread and meat. Did God sin in feeding Elijah bread and meat? He could have chosen anything else, isn't it? He could have chosen anything else to feed Elijah. Okay. Now we're not going to stop there, because now once I stop there, you'll say, hey, the speaker was advocating for bread and meat. Okay. Now let's go to 1 Kings chapter 19, where Elijah was fed again. Okay? 1 Kings chapter 19. And I want you to read the verses just before he was fed by the angel now. Yeah. So it's interesting. After that, what does now God feed Elijah with again? Cakes and? Do you see meat? There's no meat. The principle is, the way the Lord treated Elijah was what? Progressively. He led him softly, if you understand what I mean. And that's how we should treat people, even those who are believers. Was Elijah a believer? Yes. But even as God fed Elijah, he didn't again send bread and meat again to feed him. He fed him with a different diet, actually sent by an angel who fed him, right? So it's the same way we should be urging the health reform with others. We don't force it upon them. We say, now this is what you need to eat, right? We meet them where they are, so that by the next time we meet them, we even give them something better than what they had before. And we'll see this in the book Education, that something better, she says something better is the watchword for true education. It's not just a matter of eliminating things from diet or lifestyle, but it's about introducing something better than what you had before. Does that make sense? So by the time you tell someone you need to stop meat, you have to introduce them to something better than even that meat. Does that make sense? By the time you tell someone, now, this ugali, you eat it 5 times a week, maybe you could incorporate something different. Makes sense? Yeah? You substitute it with something better. Now, I want to use an example of an experience I had. It's not the best example, but nonetheless, it is an example. Now, when I went to a few years back to India, where we had to do a training on health evangelism. Okay. Now, in India, for those who have been there or have heard of how they eat pili pili. Yani, for breakfast, our food had pili pili. For lunch, the food had pili pili. For dinner, pili pili. By the time I came back, I had a condition called gastritis. Okay? So itis, gastritis, anytime you see the word itis, it means inflammation. Yeah, so my gastrointestinal tract was inflamed from all the chilies and spices we're eating. Now, what if I decided not to eat? Spices isn't the best thing to eat, but I would ask them, hey, I don't want spices, right? But to them, it does not make sense. Like, that's not a language. Saying no pili pili, like it doesn't exist. No pili pili, yeah? But what if I said now, since, you know, spices erode my intestinal lining, I'm not going to eat. I was there for a month. Would I be alive if I decide not to eat for a month? Yeah. So the context is sometimes wherever you go, you may not be able to find that diet that you want or approved. You just need to pray and ask the Lord to help you and to meet you where your circumstances are. Now, let's say if there was pork introduced. Should I eat that pork? Why not? Yeah, now that's a matter of principle. That's clear in the Bible that is not to constitute our diet. Does that make sense? Now that's where the balance comes in. In that circumstance, what was the best thing I could have? It's what they gave me, whether it was oily, whether it was sugary. But if pork is introduced, that's for me is a no. Right? If there was something better, I would take it. But since that's all that was there, that's what I took. Does that make sense? I want to give you another example. I have some friends who are missionaries. They came to Narok County, and they were trying to reach out to the Maasai. Yeah. Now, they are Americans. Okay, these were strong health reformers. In terms of reform, these guys were on point, right? So they went to Narok. Now they were visiting the Maasais. They took them into their manyatas. And then the Maasai, to welcome them, what do you think they offered them? Milk mixed with what? Blood. Now you, what would you do? And you're doing outreach, isn't it? And we've read these statements, meet the people where they are. What would you do? I want someone else. You've spoken too much. Someone else? I want to hear other thoughts. We'll come to you, but I want to hear some thoughts. What would you do? You have the health message, you know the truth, you're doing outreach, you're being offered milk and blood. What do you do? What do you do? These are live case studies where we're moving away from just the theory, we're going into practical things. What do you do? That's a case study I've given you. What do you do? Okay, so wait, what did you say? You take a little, okay, all right. Anyone else? There's an answer, I'll give you the answer, but I want to hear what you do. Yes. Okay. So you'd ask if there is milk without the blood, huh? Okay. Okay, good. I like that you're thinking now. Now this is where health reform becomes practical in a gospel setting. So I'll tell you what they did. And it's important, as you do these things, you ask the Lord to give you wisdom. Okay, don't do what Elder so-and-so told me to do, or pastor. You ask the Lord, what should I do in this situation? Because in terms of judgment, it wouldn't be between you and a deacon or elder or your members. It will be between you and God, isn't it? It will be between you and God. But remember, what is the end goal? We want to leave this door open for evangelism, okay? So I'll tell you what they did. They asked them, do you have anything else that we can take? So they didn't refuse. They just asked, what else do you have, yeah, that we can take? We'd be happy to take what you're offering us. But what do you have? So you know what the Maasais brought? They brought Coca-Cola. They brought Coca-Cola. And then, what do you think they did? What do you think they did? They took Coca-Cola. Their reasoning was, since we understand anatomy and physiology and nutrition, let's take the Coca-Cola. When we get home, let's just drink lots of water to dilute the effects of Coca-Cola. That door remained open, and they were still able to make contact with this community. Now, is that what you should do? It's not. You need to ask the Lord what you should do for yourself. Does that make sense? And for me, I believe that's where now balance comes in with the health message. What was the intention of taking that Coca-Cola? Was it just to like, let's just take this Coke and just, enjoy this nice cold Coca-Cola? No. Since this is how they offer their hospitality, and with Maasais, at least the people they went to meet, not taking anything may close the door, if you get what I mean. So perhaps for one of you, you may say, I'll take that Coca-Cola. Someone may say, I'll tell them, okay, could you remove that blood? But the principle here, blood, we're told that blood is objectionable. We're not to take the blood, okay? So that's what it means now to apply principle. You're given the principle of the health message, now learning to apply in a practical setting. Are there any questions or comments? Yes. Mm-hmm. 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 Yes. Mm. What do you mean? Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Good. Good question. I want to, and I think that's now where it goes to, who are you meeting? Who are you speaking with? Where do they live? What is their condition of where they're living? It can't be, it's not now a blanket application. I'll give you the example. When we're in Kakuma refugee camp, they don't have a water source in that refugee camp, okay? So we're teaching on health. Now, if I'm to tell them about lentils, they'd ask me, where do we buy lentils? You get what I mean? There is no supermarket there. You're living in a refugee camp. Now, there was somebody there who was keeping chickens. Yeah? I told them, because they asked me, what should I do? I have chickens. This is where I get my food. I sell some of the eggs. I told them, if you're going to eat chickens, you make sure you know what these chickens are eating. Makes sense. Make sure you know what they're eating. As God opens the way, you can substitute with other things that come your way, because these guys rely on, these planes branded. No, there's this one for food, WFP, World Food Program. Those are the planes we are seeing coming, bringing in food as we sit there. So that food is refined. That food, it may even be GMO, but it's meant for the refugees. So will we tell them, don't eat that food, it's GMO? Then they'll say, okay, then you give us food. What do we eat? Yeah. Do you understand what I'm saying? The food that they had there, that we had to deal with what they're being given there. Now, when I come here to UoN, I won't deal with you the way I dealt with them. Makes sense? Yeah. When you're asked now to go to speak at Parklands SDA, you won't speak with Parklands SDA, people who are working, people who have jobs, the same way you deal with students. You get what I mean? Yeah. We have to, that's what it means to meet the people where they are. So you have to understand how is it that they even live and eat. I'll give you another example. So today I have to give more examples. There's a friend of mine. He was doing door-to-door work in a country in South America, okay? And in this country, it's just customary when someone visits you to give them food. Yeah? So imagine every door he knocks, you're being offered food. So he was wondering, now what am I going to do here? Because that's how to keep that. It's just, that's how you just reciprocate what? Their hospitality. By taking what they give you as you go and share with them. So I think what he mentioned is the first time, like he was not sure what to do, but he said he kept on asking for fruit. He saw fruit would be safe. So every time he knocks on a door, they come out, they offer him, he knocks this other door, he's given a banana, he knocks another door, he said by the time he was done, he had eaten a lot of fruit, yeah? But he had contacts for Bible study. You get what I'm saying? Yeah? You understand what I'm saying? Now, the other side would be, but he's overeating. He's not letting the stomach to what? Digest the food properly. That's another argument about, yeah? For him, the argument is, these people, I have Bible study contacts. What I'm eating, did it go against principle? No. So that's why you need to ask God for yourself, what should I do in this circumstance without compromising on principle and without going against your laws? Do you understand what I'm saying? I can't give you a list of what to do in that circumstance. With him, he was convicted what he was doing in God's eyes is right. Someone else may argue, no, you are overeating. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. What is the conviction God is giving you in that circumstance? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Maybe you can.
Thank you. I had two questions. The first one is the health message salvific or not? And especially in our context, what does that mean? Then the second one, you mentioned that for you, and this is for everyone also here because we are students, you began understanding and practicing the health message while you were a student. So how was it like for you, and what are some of the things that you can really recommend for someone who wants to start when they're a student, and some of the challenges they can face and how to go through them? Thank you.
Mike. All right, that's a tough question. Before I answer them, can I finish? I think I'm almost done. Yeah? I want us to read a few things, then I answer that question. Then maybe any other questions that come, because I'm realizing I'm also the one who's making us delay. So I want us to read this. When the enemy sees that the Lord is blessing his people and preparing them to discern his delusions, he will work with his masterly power to bring in fanaticism on one hand and malice on the other, that he may gather in a harvest of souls. Now is the time to watch unceasingly. Watch for the first step of advance that Satan may make among us. Now, Satan, just like remember the first image? There was the ditch on one side, there was the mud on the other side. Satan doesn't care which side you fall. Does that make sense? He doesn't care whether you fall into the fires of fanaticism, whether you're advocating for, we need to eat what? The original Eden diet. If you don't eat the original Eden diet, then you're lost. And it also doesn't care if you are on the other side where you say, no, the health message, it doesn't matter. You can eat the way you want. It's okay. The Lord loves us just as we are. Satan doesn't care which side you fall. To him, he doesn't care. As long as you fall, his job is done. That's why we're trying to find what? The balance. Balance is the key, okay? Now it says here, 2 classes have been presented before me, still from Counsels on Diets and Foods. First, those who are not living up to the light which God has given them. So it's possible God has given us light on how we should eat and live, isn't it? But you say, I don't care, or I'm not bothered. Isn't that true? There are those, we're reading here, it says 2 classes. One class, they're not living up to the light which God has given them. They've been given light, they're not living according to it. Secondly, those who are what? Too rigid in carrying out their one-sided ideas of reform. And it goes on to say, and enforcing them on others. When they take a position, they stand to it what? Stubbornly, and carry nearly everything over the mark. Those are 2 classes. Those who are so rigid in carrying out reforms, where even if you tell them, have you considered this? They say, no. This is the way we should do it. This, if you don't do it, then you're lost. The other people, they've been given light, but they're just what? They don't care. So which side are you on? That's why we're trying to find the balance. Okay? Now, I want to read an example about swine's flesh. Yeah? And it's interesting that the church, or church members, they only realize later that actually we should not be eating swine or pig, right? So I want us to read here together. This from the book Testimonies, Volume 1, page 206. So here Ellen White is speaking to someone who was saying we need to stop eating swine's flesh. He read in the Bible and said we should not be eating swine's flesh. So this is the counsel Ellen White was giving. I saw that your views concerning swine's flesh, now in brackets, it says this testimony was written where? October 21st, 1858. That was before the church was what? Organized, okay? Nearly 5 years before the great vision of 1863. 1863 is when Ellen White got the vision of health reform. And it goes on to say, I'll just jump. The subject was given in a manner to move all our people. How wonderful are the wisdom and goodness of God. It might be as wrong to crowd the milk, salt, and sugar question now as the pork question. It says, I saw that your views concerning swine's flesh would prove no injury if you have them to yourselves. But in your judgment and opinion, you have made this a test and your actions have plainly shown your faith in this matter. Actions have plainly shown your faith in this matter. If God requires his people to abstain from swine's flesh, he will convict them on the matter. He is just as willing to show his honest children their duty as to show their duty to individuals upon whom he has not laid the burden of his work. If it is the duty of the church to abstain from swine's flesh, God will discover it to more than 2 or 3. He will teach his church their duty. What are we saying? This guy, he brought in the question of what? Swine's flesh. He was saying we shouldn't eat it. But what was he being told? It is not a test question right now. Later on, now in 1863, after Ellen White was given the vision, now it was made clear that as a church, according to the Bible, this is now what? A test question. That's why at the moment we do not advocate for what? Swine's flesh. So at that time, they were eating swine's flesh. Yeah? So God was meeting his people only as what? They were being allowed to be guided. Does that make sense? So for you, maybe you've realized, hey, I need to stop eating chocolate. Yeah? You have that conviction, I need to stop eating chocolate. You don't go now to another brother, we need to stop eating chocolate. But you can share, I stopped eating chocolate because of all these negative health effects. Does that make sense? But it's not for us to enforce it on people. You need to stop it because I'm stopping it. You can share why you stopped and pray that God gives them the same conviction. But now there are matters to do with principle. As we've seen here regarding swine's flesh or even seafood, that is something that's clearly from God's word, isn't it? Yeah. So that's, I don't know if it makes sense. I have 5 minutes. Okay. I want us to read again here. It says, the third angel is leading out and purifying a people, and they should move with him unitedly. Some run ahead of the angels that are leading his people, but they have to retrace every step and meekly follow no faster than the angels lead. I saw that the angels of God would lead his people no faster than they could receive and act upon the important truths that are communicated to them. But some restless spirits do not more than half do up their work. As the angel leads them, they get in haste for something new and rush on without divine guidance, and thus bring confusion and discord into the ranks. They are deceived. You both are making work for repentance. Okay? Now the thing is, as God reveals to you light, yeah, especially to do with health, from my own personal experience, I can only speak of my own experience, that is a duty God has given to you for that moment. It's easy to, I want to give another example. I had, I don't know if you've heard of people say, let's say you shouldn't mix, well, this is not nutrition class, fruits and vegetables. Have you heard that? That you should not mix fruit and vegetables. They even say this is what Ellen White writes. What is a fruit? And what is a vegetable? Okay. Is a cucumber a fruit? Is a tomato a fruit? No, according to the definition, especially from the Garden of Eden, it is. It is a fruit. Is an avocado a fruit? Yes. But how do we like to eat our avocados? We mix it with vegetables, isn't it? Yeah? So you see, sometimes we make statements, but don't ask, okay, then what is a fruit and what is a vegetable, right? So our actions should be led with understanding. That's why even when we do such talks, ideally we should have a class on nutrition and a class on anatomy and physiology. Now, the same quote that is also mostly referred to as not mixing fruits and vegetables, if you read the whole context, it mentions that some are not able to handle this mix because of what? Their stomachs. I'll give an example. My wife cannot eat avocado. If she eats avocado, she'll react very badly to avocado. Now, does that mean I should tell her? No. But avocado has omega-3 and all these good oils, so you must eat. It's healthy. Is that now how I should handle the situation? No. Everyone reacts differently, even to these things which are good. Does that make sense? So that's why, again, that's what it means to meet the people where they are. That's why an understanding of anatomy and physiology and nutrition is very important. Now, we'll end with this. The Lord desires every minister, every physician, every church member to be careful not to urge those who are ignorant of our faith to make sudden changes in diet, thus bringing them to a premature test. Hold up the principles of health reform and let the Lord lead the honest in heart. They will hear and believe. And which goes on even to the question that young lady there asked about family. But look at the emphasis. Do not urge those who are ignorant of our faith, right? There are some who are what?